everyone out there. I'm Peter Cowper from My Bloody Valentine, 1981, Minor, and Harry Warden and Stunts. I want you to hook onto these guys, Mouths of Madness.
So you are afraid of something.
Death is.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Welcome to the madness.
We are the Mouths of Madness, your new favorite podcast for horror movie reviews. We're coming to you live tonight from the Dungeon of Doom. This is our episode 21 on the 2016 Terrifier versus the 2022 Terrifier 2. And this is the start of Madtober.
Ooh.
My name is Kevin, and let me tell you something. Everyone's kind of down in the dumps after we all had to watch these movies. So I have a surprise for all of us. Let me bring in the Clown Cafe.
Oh,
Whoa, man, what the... This is a thing, isn't it?
yeah, that's...
This looks poorly built.
You see, you brought this asshole Art the Clown in here.
This is a jam, man. Anyways, let me introduce you to the members of Madness. Wow, they set this up for us. First, we have Dan. Dan, how are you enjoying yourself over there?
Well, you know, I gotta say, I'm really am impressed with the spread that's going on over here. Kevin, what is that?
Oh man, that's the zombie platter.
Yeah, get me one of them eyeballs and like, don't be like bashful with the brain jelly on it. I'd really like to get in there.
Yeah, here you go. Breathtaking. Next, we have the mayor of Halloween Town. It's Bearclaw. Bearclaw, I got a special cereal for you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'd give anything a shot. I mean, I don't know, this doesn't...
This is Art Krispies. Here we go. Have a nice bowl of that.
Dude, I'm like, I'm not gonna eat this. This looks like you just poured like a hardware store into the bowl. It's like razor blades and screws and sheet metal screws and...
It also smells like urine.
Yeah, you know, I think I'm gonna pass this time, but I don't think this is for me, but thanks.
All right, well, that's okay. And finally, we have the youngest member of Madness, my son Logan. Logan, hey, there seems to be a girl over at the swing set. Why don't you go play with her, make her feel at home?
I don't know. Kind of pale face. She's shitting? What's going on over there? My God.
Yikes.
I'm good. I'm good.
I think I'm going back into the dungeon.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Sorry, guys. I apologize. All right.
This
You know
is
what?
grotesque.
Yeah, this isn't working out the way I thought. Art, pack up your cafe, man. Get out of here. Come on.
Yeah, you better not be here when we get out, man. That's all I gotta say.
We got to get on to the review.
We are not giving you a tip.
I'm not paying for anything.
I know that there are a lot of other great horror movie podcasts out there, but what separates us from the other ones is that we're going to be giving you the older versus younger generation perspective. Myself, Dan, and Bearclaw, we were all born in the 80s, while my son Logan, he was born in the early 2000s. So this is the clash of the generations. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to us on your favorite audio platform and YouTube. If you're enjoying your descent into madness, we would really appreciate it if you would rate us 5 stars and leave us a review. You can find us on Instagram at mouths.of.madness. We have a great YouTube channel with our exclusive YouTube podcast, Straight Jacket Talk, and we just reviewed Halloween 2018, so go check it out now at Mouths of Madness. And finally, please email Bearclaw at thepaddedroom@outlook.com and let him know what your favorite cereal flavor is.
Yeah, you know, are you more of like a Tony the Tiger's like Frosted Flakes? I'm a Frosted Flakes man myself. Or do you prefer the Toucan Sam Fruit Loops? Or, you know, during this time of year, maybe it's more of a Frankenberry type of year.
More of a
Count
Blueberry.
Or Count Chocula. Or Boo Berry.
I like
We're all over the place.
Oh. Do you know that they make Captain Crunch that turns the milk green?
That's awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
I love all the Halloween cereals. Give them to me.
I like the Halloween candies. Those are always the greatest.
I just love Halloween.
Oh, me too.
It's time to embrace the madness and let you all know what we've been up to. Well, for me, like I said, we just reviewed Halloween 2018 for Straight Jacket Talk. So I just watched that great movie. I love Halloween 2018. It brings back Michael Myers, makes him scary again. Jamie Lee Curtis back after all the time. Us here on the Mouths of Madness, we did our Halloween ranking as our first episode. So if you want to go check that out and see where we all ranked Halloween 2018, go check it out. Also, and maybe we could all tag team this, we went to the CT Horror Fest over the weekend.
Oh, yeah. I had a lot of fun. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We also did the SilverCon too.
Yeah, Silver Scream Con.
Prior.
Yes. We've been pretty busy with horror cons.
Yeah.
Got a lot of little awesome plugs and autographs from the likes of David Arquette, Lee Wydell.
Who was your favorite one to me? Who's your favorite celeb? Logan loved Lee Wydell.
Yeah, I like Peter Cowper was
I was about to say
pretty
Peter
cool.
Cobber was probably the coolest.
Yeah, he was the coolest too. He's from My Bloody Valentine, and he was great in that movie, and he was just real awesome to meet at the con. So it was fun.
I like the Halloween guys. I like James Jude Courtney and Nick Castle.
Yeah.
They're really, really cool.
Yeah, I like them a lot too. They were super friendly, super accommodating. You know who I liked a lot was Devin Sawa.
Yes, he was awesome as well.
Yeah, he was a really cool guy. We talked a little bit about Idle Hands, but we also talked a little bit about Little Giants, and he told us that he has group chat going, right, with the other
Yeah,
Little
they had
Giants
like a
members.
little reunion thing.
Yeah.
One's a truck driver, one's a teacher or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
what's going on?
Idle
It was cool.
Hands is one of those weird like horror comedy, like teen horror comedy. That was such a good movie.
Well, he loved how we brought it up.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
like, whoa, yeah.
That we dropped a Slackers reference to. He was just
Oh yeah,
he
Slackers
was
was
so
a good
happy
movie.
that we ran into us.
Us and Devin Sawa.
Some people aren't happy that they run into us. He was.
most kind of turn away.
David Arquette loved us. I mean, he personally pulled me aside and he was like, look, I see potential in you. I want you to be the next David Arquette.
Well, we did have him sign his autograph, your world champion, and we will forever appreciate that. It's hanging up here.
He's
the Dungeon of
immortalized
Doom.
in the Dungeon of Doom as the GOAT.
Yes, sir. Well, that does it for me. How about you, Dan?
I've been actually playing this online game with my buddies. It's called Crime Boss Rockay City. It's basically like a knockoff of the Payday series. So, I mean, it's fun. Good opportunity to kind of catch up with friends and play that a couple days a week. So that's pretty much it for me.
I like the Payday board game.
There's a board game?
Well, it's an older board game.
It's pretty fun, though, Payday.
Well,
Oh,
you
okay.
land on all the damn... Until you pay so much, too many bills that you start realizing this is too early for me.
Listen, it's no shoots and ladders or Candyland, but
Oh, you
No
old
Guess
person. Guess who's hard as hell?
all right, Bearclaw, how about you?
Well, I've just been playing a little Resident Evil 4, which is very seasonally appropriate. I know there's not too many other gamers out there, but I feel like there's a lot of horror gamers out in our audience. So why don't you go ahead and write me recommendations at thepaddedroom@outlook.com for some good horror video games that I need to try out, because between you and me, everybody huddle around, video games are the future of horror. There's some really cool stuff out there, and Resident Evil is no exception. I have heard Resident Evil as compared to the Fast and Furious of horror, and
I love it.
yeah, it's out of line, but it's not wrong. It's like
There's definitely a family line.
It's all
in
about
Resident
family.
Evil. You definitely see the
I don't have
family link
friends.
there.
I have family.
it goes back to that one quote. It's like you're not wrong, but you're out of line. I love Resident Evil. I will never apologize for that. Umbrella Corp for life. It was a good time. Resident Evil 4 is awesome. I got past the part that I was really stuck on for a while, so I'm really going to be running to the finish of that game. So it's the remastered version for PS5 and just fantastic. Can't recommend it enough.
Awesome. All right, Logan.
Yeah, well, video games and books have taken a little bit of a lull for me, but like what I have been getting into, you know, it's the season of the witch. Have to introduce myself to the newer shows that are coming out. They got Agatha, the new Agatha show. It's really dope. It's really cool because they have the original directors from WandaVision, which is really cool. So,
WandaVision was a cool show.
WandaVision was an insane show that they tried to pull off. That was a massive project that worked out perfectly for them. And this, I think, will just be equally as good.
It's tough for me to take Catherine Hahn seriously after Step Brothers, though.
Yeah.
She is so good.
She's such a good actress.
You know what the best part of the show is? Aubrey Plaza.
I didn't even know she was in that show.
Aubrey Plaza is like up there she's up there with Florence Pugh of like the people I respect more than anything.
Goodness, on that level.
Like they are just, she is
so much
dope.
So much respect.
Respect.
Respect. What's up? Yo, Aubrey Plaza, what's up? She listening to this. I got her on.
You got to get the Rizzler.
You're in the market for
okay. Also, I've been checking out. They got the Penguin show as well that just dropped on HBO Max. But what I've been really getting into since like this last week is Twin Peaks.
Yes.
I got into
fantastic
Twin
show.
Peaks,
Yep.
and it is the best show I've ever watched.
Kyle
It is
MacLachlan.
legitimately like it's up there with The Bear. Like, on,
Would you
like,
describe it as good as Agent Cooper would describe his coffee?
This is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.
just fine? It's just so good. Or the trees when these are friar trees. Oh my god! I love his childhood wonder when he's like at the town because he's just so into it. And then the other cops come in and they're like, "Oh, this town is such shit."
My favorite character is the lady with the log.
Lady with the love.
The log lady,
Yeah,
yes sir.
she's-
What about Nadine? You don't like the eye patch lady? my drapes. They gotta be quiet. I don't get it. I don't get it.
She joined the wrestling team? Or
You're
like
oil.
weightlifting team?
She's a wife we could all aspire to
I
have.
mean, it's just, it is like, I know it's losing me a little bit just because the new shows have been coming out. I haven't been following with it, but like that first season is just so good, man. I was binging that show like every day. Like I was just into it. So, I mean, yeah, that's basically it.
All right. Well, without any further ado, grab a beer, pull up a chair, hold on to your straitjacket tight, and let's dive into the madness. We watched Terrifier from 2016 along with Terrifier 2 from 2022. Both of these movies were written and directed by Damien Leone. Terrifier stars David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown. But did you guys know that this is not the first time Art the Clown has appeared in a movie before?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was in All Hallows Eve from 2013, which is kind of a movie of shorts put together, kind of an anthology type of movie. I actually don't mind that one.
I was gonna say, it seems like he would be a better fit for an anthology kind of thing.
You know what's weird though? All Hallows Eve did have a different actor who portrayed Art the Clown.
Oh.
Had a different look too.
Yeah, you could see it right through the,
I will say this actor is second to none when it comes to
Yeah, how he portrays
Art the Clown.
Art the Clown. Yep. Now, Terrifier had an estimated budget of $35,000 to $55,000.
And let me tell you, I looked up these numbers, and I'm going to ruin our game a little bit.
Mhm.
I don't believe that. Like,
You think it's lower or
I
higher?
think it's higher. I think
Okay.
they're deflating it. Like, I don't know. Like, what? Like, this had to cost some type of money. You're still
It doesn't
renting.
look like it costs any
It didn't,
money.
Yeah, it didn't
You
look
don't
like it
think
cost.
so?
Dude,
no.
there were so many like scenes where I'm like, oh my god, this is
I thought it
like
was,
they
like, 50.
used no money. The actors were plain as hell. The atmosphere felt like shit.
Well,
Especially for one, like they probably like rented that warehouse thing out for like 10 grand tops for like what, 3 to 5 days.
That's what I was
Most
thinking.
of the budget came from that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They saved a lot of money, I believe, on just doing mostly a one location shoot. Because that's a majority of the budget. Plus, you have no-name actors. David Howard Thornton didn't star in anything, so you're not paying him. Really, the money is into effects, right?
That you could shoot that for that. Well, I mean, given it wasn't, and again, it's not the most quality of films, but it seems like there would be more cost involved in that. But I guess if you keep a real tight eye on
They
the
kept
budget,
it very tight, very, very tight.
Well, now that Bearclaw knows the budget, do you gentlemen also know what this grossed at the box office?
I'm gonna say like maybe $1 million.
All right, Logan.
Like way lower than that. Might go a little bit higher, but like, dude, I don't think this got any people. I'm gonna go like 200,000.
It's made $416,322.
I ran the financials on these because these are highly profitable movies, but the gross profit is $361,322 with a gross profit margin of about 87%.
Whoa.
So highly profitable, especially if he was able to control costs
off of a
like that.
$30,000 budget, yeah. I mean,
Well, I estimated the budget at $55,000 because there was two conflicting budgetary numbers for it.
Yeah.
there's no way it was gonna make like that much money. Like, it was a very indie movie, and it also like didn't have a lot of like marketing off of it. Like, it was in a weird time. 2016 was not a good year for horror.
Yeah, it was also, misogynistic edgelord garbage too. But like,
I think was Bloody Disgusting is like what really got the support.
Yeah.
They really supported them in their project.
Yeah, because
at
I
the
don't
beginning.
remember at the time hearing too much about it when it was really first released, but then afterwards I remember like the buzz and everything being talked about with it.
Yeah, now that you mention it, it came out in 2016, and I don't think I saw it until maybe about 2018, 2019.
I think I saw it around the same time, to be honest with you.
I think I saw it about a week ago.
I think I saw it like 2 days ago.
Well, currently on Rotten Tomatoes, Terrifier has a 57% critic score and a 53% audience score.
That
Wow,
tracks.
that's way higher than I thought.
But both of them are kind of in agreement a little bit.
Yeah, it's a mid movie.
It's like, I feel like you're either on board for this or you're not.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
like 50-50.
I feel like you're either totally into this or you're not at all into this. Like, there's no like in between on this. Like, you either have to be really into this or just really hate it.
Terrifier 2 also stars David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown. This one, though, brings in Lauren Lavera as Sienna alongside Elliot Fulham as her brother Jonathan. So we kind of have now protagonists to the antagonist of Art.
Yeah.
Emily McLean also plays the pale girl, which is quote unquote Art's sidekick. So a couple more bigger
Batman and
actors on
Robin
this.
over here.
Now, Terrifier 2 had a budget of $250,000. Bearclaw, you know how much it grossed, right? Because you ran the numbers.
Yeah.
So, Dan, do you know how much it grossed?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Logan, what's your guess?
Maybe like 500,000.
Well, this is going to surprise you, Logan, because Terrifier 2 grossed $15.7 million.
Okay, what the hell? So,
With a
okay, I'm guessing this is what happened. The GoFundMe that provided the money for Terrifier 2 brought up people that kind of went into this movie like, okay, what do we got here? Went into Terrifier 1, watched that, because Terrifier 1 was probably all over people's minds around this time. They watched that. A lot of people liked it, went to the movies to see it, and they had a lot better marketing because of the money.
I'm willing to bet a lot of people who saw Terrifier 2 never saw Terrifier 1. Because I think Terrifier 1, it's more of a showcase of art and like gore effects and things like that than it is anything else. And it's one of those things where it's like, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, I think, but like it establishes like the character of Art as kind of an iconic, very distinct character. And then you go into Terrifier 2, because you could honestly see Terrifier, like you could see Terrifier 2 and there's no connective tissue between Terrifier 1 and 2.
It's
so.
still crazy though that they had like a whole GoFundMe for Terrifier 2, and they've already they're already doing like 2 more.
So the specific though, GoFundMe for that was to raise money for the quote unquote bedroom scene, the gore effects, because he needed to raise, I believe I read $55,000 or $50,000 to do that scene.
They kind of are over their budgetary expenditure, and then they had to go to the public for additional funding.
Yeah, because you know what Bearclaw is saying makes a lot of sense, and picking up what Logan's saying too about the funding is, I guarantee you, Damien Leone showed Terrifier as, this is the concept for like what we can do. And people looked at that and said, wait a minute. Or investors definitely looked at it and said, you can make this movie on, let's say, $55,000. Like, holy shit, we're going to give you, whatever.
Well, and like, let's look at the stats, right? So we're talking gross profit of $15,450,000, profit margin of 98%. He kept costs low.
Holy shit.
And he really put in some money. But I will say this. He's really sticking to, and I respect this in a way, he's sticking to his like artistic guns and wants to keep this thing indie and whatever. And I think that's noble, but I think the character of Art the Clown, if he was watered down a little bit, if he was made a little bit more or a little bit less just everything that he is, really, because the volume's at 11 for that guy. If you tone him down a little bit and make him a little less extreme, I think you could have a much more commercially beneficial icon that would be bankable. And it sounds like a couple studios have approached him, and he probably could have much bigger budgets and have much bigger appeal than he does. I honestly think this whole like, I'm an artist thing for like a horror movie, like I don't know, I'd get on the money train and ride it all into Bank Station there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something we can get into our discussion about too, is because that is a valid point. Like, should art be more commercialized? And that's something that I think we could definitely discuss. Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, Terrifier 2 has an 86% critic score and an 80% audience score. So this is certified fresh. It's funny how on the first Terrifier, critics and audience are very agreeable. And on the second Terrifier, they are also very agreeable with each other. So it's kind of a cool correlation there. I want to start our discussion because I think what I've said, if you've been following us for a while, and Straight Jacket Talk as well from the beginning, is what I love about horror is I think it has something for everybody. It kind of dips its toes into different subgenres. There's comedy, there's sci-fi, there's, thriller. It has a little bit of everything. And that's what I love, because it does give you this wide variety with kind of horror as the overlying tone. Now, the Terrifier movies, for me, just aren't my cup of tea, I think, at the end of the day. These movies I really want to like. I like the concept of art. I like gore and practical effects. I really admire Damien Leone for really sticking to his guns and saying, hey, this is my baby. I want to do it my way. I love that. And I've heard it classified as these Terrifier movies are like punk rock, and what they were. And I think it sucks for me because I grew up as a punk rock fan and against the establishment.
I don't know. These are punk rock. I mean, like, punk rock stood for something. What does this stand for?
Stands against the establishment, against commercialism, against,
basically what you're advocating, that Art the Clown be.
Yeah, no, he should definitely sell out, but I honestly think
you proved my point.
I think it would make it better. Yeah, but it's like punk rock, but like punk rock was all about like fighting the but I mean, like, fighting the horror. What horror establishment? what
nice
studio system?
I think it's commercialized. Yeah, it's commercialized and watered down. I think that's that's what it's kind of
punk rock music in itself. The whole basis of it too is it for it to be mostly inaccessible. Like, they sing like shit on purpose because they don't want it to be accessible. So there's an element of showmanship in punk rock where it's like we do things shittily on purpose to piss people off.
Yeah. You know what, though? Now it kind of sucks because I feel like the old man.
I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to me.
Back in my day.
I don't know. I just think for me, these movies are way beloved by people and a lot of people in the horror community. And I think that, you know, that's awesome for those people that love these movies. And I think we should all, you know, have things that we like and we don't like. And I think for me, I don't like these. So, yeah, I mean, but I think it's cool to talk about these movies because they are very popular and they are taking over. You know, we went to these horror cons and how many arts did we see?
Well, the entire cast was at Silver
Screen Con, yeah.
And they pretty much, I think, dominated a lot of lines besides the Halloween folks.
Yeah, and it was cool. It reminded me of being younger and like Freddy Krueger and all the kids dressed up as Freddy Krueger and things like that. Like I want that icon, I think, and I'm happy for those people, I think. You know, Dan, what do you think? What's your overall feelings on these Terrifier movies?
Much to your point, these aren't my cup of tea either in terms of movies. I'm not a big into like torture-y style movies. I do appreciate and respect a lot of what they're doing with it. Like, I really do like Art the Clown. I love the clown mannerisms that he pulls off. The actor is fantastic with how he uses his full face to express all these ranges of emotions in like milliseconds. He really knows how to like make a psychotic like presentation. And I was like looking up the special effects, like what did they use for special effects? Because, you know, like you're like, holy shit, look at this budget. Like, what the hell are they actually using to make all of this stuff work? And a lot of it is they use like real meat. They use latex gloves. They use balloons. They have some puppeteering going on and like a lot of, you know, Hollywood corn syrupy fake blood. Mm-hmm. But like, I just think that's so cool. Like, that bedroom scene where like he rips the girl's hand in half. That's probably like a latex glove packed with meat. And he's just like, I love how innovative and creative they had to be on such a small budget. Like, these are the things that I kind of appreciate, or I try to find something good to talk about in these movies, because the content and in themselves like is lacking for me. It does nothing for me. There's especially one has no story for me, and it's kind of like a Shark Tank pitch.
Who are the sharks?
Kind of like what you guys are talking about to me. It's just kind of like, this is a loose concept of what we can do if we get a bigger budget. And it's like, yeah, like it's all style and no substance, because what's going to actually attract investors, you know, a creative style, like especially on a small budget, a creative style palette, or are you going to try to like make a story? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fortunately, never attempted that. So,
but I don't know. Like, I don't like them overall. I think 2 is significantly better. And the thing that I will say, I think the director does listen to some of the criticisms of the movie, that, or maybe he just has like an entire vision in mind, because he's got like 4 or 5 of these like already like probably pre-planned out.
Well, Bearclaw is chomping at the bit to talk. So Bearclaw, what's your overall
I'm
thoughts?
actually not chomping at the bit to talk. I appreciated in the second one. I really, my mother said if I don't have anything nice to say, I probably shouldn't say anything at all. You know, the first one struck me as kind of misogynistic and very like edgelord kind of thing of like, you know, it's one thing with like a violent nature. Like, a violent nature had brutality. Okay, fine. All horror movies have some degree of brutality. That's what makes them horror movies, right? But it's like seeing siblings and parents being forced to watch their loved ones get dismembered, and the torturing and, you know, the spectacular violence aimed at women. I found these highly misogynistic. I found, because like, yes, there's violence that happens to men too in general, but I mean, if you're talking about the spectacle, the violent spectacles, they all happen to women throughout these movies, and I don't love that. There is good in these movies. I think we're seeing an evolution of Art the Clown. I honestly hope he does get watered down a little bit, because I just don't. Even if it's not through the corporate process, but maybe it's through some type of realization that these movies aren't fun. Like, they're not like a fun time to sit and watch like torture porn. Like, I don't know. And I like horror movies that there's substance to it, but you're still allowed to have fun, and it's not like vicious and, the Cenobites showing up and being like, are we angels or are we demons? Like, you get spine, chills running down your spine. And there were moments of legitimate terror in these movies. I think that they achieve their goal, but ultimately I find the first one to be kind of very, very confusing in just what there's no story or anything like that. So it's really just kind of a showcase for Art the Clown. And some of the aspects I liked about Terrifier 2, I really did like some of the synth music that they used. I hated the way both these movies were shot, though. Everything is a close-up on somebody. Like, everything is, like, right in somebody's face. Weren't for me, but there were some positive aspects. I liked how the second one felt a little bit more like a classic B movie, like it was trying to lean more into the punk rock thing, because I thought the first one kind of didn't even it had some style to it, but I feel like they really turned up the style in the second one, which was a good addition. But yeah, I think Art the Clown can be a lot more than he is, and I think there's some very unnecessary viciousness that could be cut, and he could still be an incredibly viable. I think the actor who does him is brilliant in his acting, in his portrayal of the villainous character. What makes me sad is the potential of Art the Clown and how I see it it's gaining a following, but I don't know, and the third one's coming out.
I believe it's already out.
It's already out.
Well,
or the pre-release is already out.
They just showed. Yeah, so
pre-release is already out.
Yeah, show it now.
So yeah,
seeing the reviews come out.
So I mean, yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I mean, I got more to say, but I'll move it on to Logan. What do you think, Logan?
Look, I have nothing to say on this. I really legitimately, I am going to talk for 5 minutes here, and that is it for me for this episode. I will say nothing more on what I liked and didn't like of this movie, but I need 5 minutes to just get everything out on the table. I don't see what the fun is in this movie. I don't want to sit through this movie again. I don't want to, because I know what's coming. The acting is terrible. No one is good in this movie. I can't have a protagonist I can actually like. And the problem is, I want to, because I actually am more into the villain as a comedy person, and then he goes around and eats people's face for fun, and I can't get around that. I don't know what I'm supposed to be into in this movie. Like, they throw me through many, twists and turns. The first movie, you're into this clown that just shows up out of nowhere. You follow these two girls that you think are going to be there forever. Surprise, surprise, they aren't. You got nothing from them. You're not even there you have another character that comes in randomly. That's the sister. And then look at this. We got a whole plot line that was from the beginning. Oh, wow, plot twist.
Nobody cares about a movie unless it's got a twist ending.
No, it's not, because we don't care anymore.
There would have to be a plot for there to be a plot twist.
Exactly. The second one.
They tried the psycho thing, though.
Yeah.
The second one, I mean, what was even the plot? You have a kid who likes serial killers, and that's his whole, that's his thing? The mom just completely goes past it. She's like, it'll pass. And then when he really gets into it, starts talking about the dad and everything on with that, the mom just slaps the kid.
You're such a bitch. Don't you ever say that to me again.
And then, that's it. That's it for the mom. That's it for any kind of, connection in this movie, is that she just neglects her kids and slaps them. Great parenting job. And then we have the two kids who I just don't care about at all. I care for the girl, but, she just completely is into this costume idea. and I don't get why I'm watching this.
Cool cosplay, though.
It is a cool cosplay.
It looks like she put a lot of effort into that.
She put a ton of effort into
leather
it.
work. That stuff's tough.
Art fucked that shit up right quick.
Yeah, good on him.
And the wings, they burned them down.
And then you have this story where it's like resurrection, and they bring that up in like the last like 20 minutes of a movie where I'm like, okay, so you're just able to live. Great. Good job. We made a thing that will keep this movie series going on forever.
Now, one of the things you mentioned the sword. Now,
It's the magic sword from Legend of Zelda.
It's a magic sword from Legend of Zelda.
Exactly.
See, that's where I was going with this. Also, I was wondering, did Jamie Lee Curtis get a magic sword? I feel like she didn't. I feel like she had to make use of the tools that were at hand.
She had a clothes hanger.
She had the magic clothes hanger.
Yeah.
And the knitting needles.
The magic knitting needle.
You know, because, Jamie Lee Curtis, like, puts this final girl to shame. Like,
yeah, this isn't a final girl. This is like a
Sienna's pretty
girl.
attractive, though.
Jamie Lee Curtis in her prime, though.
all right.
And
meow.
I gotta say the good stuff about this movie because I don't want to be too sweaty, but like, dude,
we're so sweaty down here. It's
so,
not even hot, and I'm the one making it sweaty too.
I gotta see the good in this. It's very good how authentic and unique this is. Like, it's very, like, you don't really see a lot of movies that get this brutal. Like, I think the most brutal movies are, like, Saw and maybe the movies like that. Like, that's as torturous as it gets.
Yeah.
But, like, nothing as bad as this. But, like, I think what works with this movie is you have these kind of terrible things that are going on, but you still try to find, like, comedic stuff that puts you, like, through, like, a little bit of fun. Like, with art, kind of, like, having fun with the two girls in the first one, and then the second one, him with the sunglasses, trying them on, like just trying to
it just makes
get
me
a rise
sad.
out of
It
her.
makes me sad because I feel like had they turned down the volume just a little bit, focused a little bit more on plot, sanded down some of the rough edges, there could have been a spectacular movie that would have done better than $15 million here. That would have done $150 million.
Oh, that's
and I think they could have done it on a very similar budget because what is the most concerning thing for me in this is the choices that they made were not budgetary choices. Like the choices that they made were choices of like, oh, well, Art's victims have to stay alive because, the whole thing with Art is he craves spectacle. He needs audience, right? Mm-hmm. Like everything that he does is all about somebody seeing him do it. Like for the most part, at least. But like, it's just between the mom getting her face blown off and then him feeding her mashed potatoes so the son can see it to the girl. But it's like, it's so like those parts are just so like hard to watch. And it's why? Well, I mean, you could have toned it down and he could have just, done what every other horror movie does in like one scene of like, boom, they're dead. And then you move on.
You said something pertinent there.
Yeah.
Every other horror movie.
Yeah.
This is not what the creator and director wants to do, is make every other horror movie.
Yeah, but like there's a thing, and I think Bearclaw touched on this earlier. No one said you had to do anything like this. Like, yeah, you can do a brutal scene here and there. Every kill in this movie, like in these two movies, is so brutal and hard to watch. Like, there's nothing that's like an easy kill. It's like so much to watch where I'm like, I don't want to watch this. Like after 30 minutes, I had to literally like chill out and be like, I need a break because I can't watch this. I can't sit through this. That Saw scene made me like sick. Like I really couldn't like stand it because I was like, dude, this is terrible to watch. But like, there's still good aspects. It's just, it's way too much. I think the spectacle is way too much. I think like if you want to get me into it, you have to like do more than just like the brutalness of it. The brutalness isn't enough to keep me in this. Like I just need, you don't even need to do good character development. I don't care because this is an indie movie. I'm not expecting actors to be like the Daniel Day-Lewis of performers, but like at least get me into something with a little bit of a plot point. Like their big plot point in the second one was like introducing the pale girl, but like it felt like they kind of just made her like a sidekick and she didn't really do anything.
The pale girl was cool too. I liked the pale girl. I
was
like
a
that I like that they added the pale girl, and I think there's so many, like, is Art a demon? Is he some type of, like, what is he? How did he manifest? And given there needs to be some mystery to these characters too. I'm not saying every lore question needs to be answered with in great detail. Maybe some of this stuff is better left a mystery, but like he's just an invincible serial killer.
I think that's what I like about the second one more is they introduce this supernatural element that, I think is there to kind of, bring in this new storyline element and get some of these, like the pale girl, and bringing in like some of why Art can do what he can do. And you said too, bringing up some of the mystery involved with Art too, because I think when I first saw Terrifier 2, I was like, wait a minute, there's a supernatural element. Like we're almost dropped into this supernatural element.
Because the first one doesn't really have anything per se that's supernatural.
But like you said, it's like the opening act of Terrifier. Like you're kind of getting introduced. So how I see Terrifier is I don't see them as movies. I see them as performances. Because it's like a play kind of going out. Like kind of like you have like these things that are happening. There's not a lot like going on within these movies to create a concrete plot.
It's a collection of scenes.
It's a collection of scenes, yeah. So like the first movie is kind of like introducing you to Art. The second movie is introducing this protagonist that you follow throughout the play. This third one will probably bring up a little bit more of like the next act, like the big like next chapter, kind of bringing in Art. Maybe a little bit more like introduction to like what he actually is
trying to ruin
doing.
Christmas. Let's be honest here. He's gonna try and ruin Christmas.
Like the Grinch.
So here's what I want to know. The episode is Terrifier versus Terrifier 2. Which one did you gentlemen prefer? I've already heard like more, I guess, for the second one.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement?
Very easily towards the second one.
It's not even close how much better improved the
Better
second
atmosphere.
one is to the original.
Yeah, I think
you want to know what actually really for me was the girl in the skeleton costume, right?
Yeah.
Really started to get invested in her as a character, and then they kill her.
Yeah.
And like then like the thing that really got me was like they kind of do this hope spot where like he walks away, he gets distracted by something. So like generally your expectation is like, oh, the girl is gonna somehow like manage to hide or slink away, or nope. She's still there, like pretty much dying, and he just finishes her off. And you're like, well,
Yeah,
all
like
right,
exactly my reaction.
yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
why?
there's 30 minutes left of this movie.
Why did they introduce? They introduced the main character, and I think like we were talking about this a little bit because I was like telling you, I was like, why did they kill off a character that they spent 30 minutes into? And then it was like you were talking about, like it was kind of like a plot twist. Like you didn't expect that character to die, you expected to carry it on. But then I was like, I guess, but I also was like kind of disappointed because now we have this new character that just got introduced, and it's like it doesn't even feel authentic. It feels like you were just like, well, here's another character.
I think they were attempting to do the Psycho spot. I think that was probably...
It didn't work.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
It only really works for Psycho. How many films have attempted it successfully?
I mean, I guess technically Scream.
Yeah, you're right. Scream.
Technically.
Yeah, but they spend, like, respectively, I think they spent like 10 minutes doing the Psycho
well,
slot in Scream.
So originally Drew Barrymore was like the big person on the poster,
right?
And then they originally everyone thought Drew Barrymore was gonna be like the final girl.
Yeah.
But then they tricked you in the first 10 minutes by getting you, and then
well,
that was good. That was good.
That's right. You know, I do remember the feeling like baited and switched.
Yeah, that was a good bait and switch.
Well, and we'll definitely get into that in our Scream episode for sure. I think, though, part of the reason why that worked in Scream, just to finish that up, is it was a quicker change of character.
Yeah.
And this is a different audience than it was during
like
Psycho's day. In Psycho's day, that was something that was crazy to people, that they changed the protagonist up in the movie.
It worked.
Yeah, and it worked back then.
But
yeah, I think waiting to do in Friday the 13th too, it was like, whoa, why? Like, it didn't need to happen. And maybe this too, like, why? In Terrifier, the first one, I really like the opening of the movie. I do. Like, I really like
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I love even the pizza restaurant. I love all that stuff in there.
Yeah, when he's like being legitimately creepy and when he's chasing down people. That's like, those are good scenes.
Yeah.
Like when he's riding his tricycle around the car yard, when she's looking down, and like when he's chasing her around. That is pretty good. I like that. Those were like literally, my heart was pounding.
Yeah, I love the tension. That tension building. You know, when she goes to take the selfie with him, and he's just staring at the girl there at the booth. That was great stuff. He goes and gets the ring and puts it on her.
Yeah,
I mean, that was all scary stuff.
Even like he gets thrown out.
Take your shit and don't come back.
I mean, even the pizza parlor, I was still with the movie by that point. I was still like, even when he beats up the pizza parlor guys and there was like that fight, like that kind of was cool. Like I was still with them at that point.
You know what? And there's a similar scene in Terrifier 2 that I love. And it's when they're at the costume shop.
Yes.
And he's in the costume shop. There's so much tension. I love that stuff.
Oh,
where he's in there. Sienna sees him. He's not like moving out of the way. And she's like going around him. And he's there in the background. And he's getting closer with the horn.
Stop! Please stop! Please!
Hey, buddy. Want to quit causing trouble?
I mean, that stuff is all really, really good.
And that's like the best parts of the movie. And like, nobody had to watch their child die. You know, like.
Yeah, I mean, I am not a fan of the Saw scene and the bedroom scene at all. But I will say, in defending them a little bit for those scenes were talked about a lot.
I feel like Kevin is the reluctant the reluctant defender here.
No,
I
think,
listen, I know he murdered 18 people, but
I think there is good in these movies.
He did do community service on the weekends, and he volunteered.
Like, I think some of Terrifier 2 making 15 million. I remember like when it went to the theaters, and it was like getting a little buzz, right? But word of mouth spread with this movie, and it was that bedroom scene. Like, you got to go see the bedroom scene. You got to go see the bedroom scene. Now, I might not agree with what took place or whatever and not like it, but it worked. To me, it's kind of what In Violent Nature did with the hook scene, with the yoga threading scene, you know, and trying to get people to go see the movie. Now, again, like, I didn't like it, but like, I mean, I respect that, trying to do that. And you know, and are these movies built on a shock scene? I don't know. You know, that's probably pretty valid. And the other thing too is, will they have to up the ante for the third one?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're already going to go after, like, you know, I mean, the whole idea behind these movies is like, it's just you're not supposed to feel safe, and I get that, and there's merit to that in some ways. It's just one of those things, like, just too far.
Here's what I want to know, and Bearclaw, you had brought this discussion up a while ago.
Yeah.
Are these Terrifier movies the response to the elevated horror movies that are becoming so popular?
I think that's why a lot of slasher fans, I think, are showing up too, because there's different genres of horror, and I think a lot of slasher fans are rejoicing because Art the Clown he's coming, and it's kind of a B movie slasher, like that genre is known for. And in many ways, I see it as kind of the punk rock against elevated horror of our time. You know, the movies with things like plots and good actors and interesting stories and things like that. It's a rebellion against those things. And I don't mean that I do mean it in a passive aggressive way, but I also mean it in a way of like, yes, he is rebelling against that stuff, and he is making his own brand and differentiating himself. I don't necessarily agree with how it's being done, but it is differentiating itself, and as a very simple reaction to what I would consider to be elevated horror, because there's not a lot of complexity to these movies. These movies there's no message to these movies. These movies are an inch deep of water. They're not, you know. Did anybody else get any any deep meaning or?
Yeah, I mean, the fear of clowns is real, right?
I mean, yeah, no, I'm not afraid of clowns. And
Yeah, I mean, Dan, what do you think? Do you think this is the response to elevated horror movies?
I don't have that big or a heady of opinion on it. I just think it was some special effects guys or guys who were inspired by horror and wanted to make a movie. They DIY'd it. They got lucky. They got somewhat lucky in their support and everything. And I think they're just riding the wave. That's really all I think about it. Like, I don't think that deeply into it. Like, I don't have like these strong opinions about like the context, and like I just think that they're having fun with what they're doing and this is what they like to do. And I think it's for a very niche audience. If you're a part of that audience, like, and it makes you happy, great. It's not necessarily my thing. I can't like I doesn't feel like I need to sit and like pick it apart, like dissect it so deeply. Like, it's just a movie, and like really I kind of don't care one way or another. Like, I don't like the movies, but like if you like them, great. And like that's really it for me.
I do have to say this though. I would really like it if we had someone that just like really enjoyed this movie, just so I could see what they really like about this. And also,
well, why don't the fans of this movie, why don't you drop us a line at the padded room at outlook.com and let us know, what are we missing here? What am I seeing? How is this the Sid Vicious of horror movies? Like, let me know what I'm missing, and or who's that guy who used to poop on stage?
Editor's note, that is G.G. Allen.
Like, I don't even care like that it doesn't like I want this movie to cater to me so that I'll like it more. Like, no, I don't even care about that.
Well, I'm just saying, because like for me, like I don't enjoy this, but like I like to hear like what other people have to say.
Yeah, no, I'm
like,
genuinely curious for people who love this movie. It's like, and you know, I would get, here's the thing, and I saw this and it kind of made me step back for a second. Somebody wrote on Instagram, I love watching these movies with a bunch of friends, just getting drunk and watching the movies and seeing them and seeing the special effects. So it's like a special effects showcase at that point. That I kind of understand. That I get. You know what I mean?
Okay, I get that because we did that. So, well, not getting drunk, but like me and my friends,
Are you drunk? No. Yes, you are.
What?
Well, not you, but
well, we didn't get drunk at all. But for Halloween last year, we went and watched. There's like a thing on like I forget what it was, but watch party or whatever, and we watched the original Halloween. And, you know, my friends haven't seen it, so I was like, oh, let's watch it and let's see what you think. I mean, if I was, like, watching with you guys, I'd probably not be like this, but, like, with them, it's, like, different, but we were just tearing it apart.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so funny.
It's fun to do that, and I think with these movies, if you chose not to engage with them and just sit and enjoy the blood and guts, you probably have a good time.
I mean, that's what the fun is in these movies, is sitting there, seeing the crazy shit that's going to happen. The special effects are great. I mean, these are great practical effects, are they not? I mean, whatever you think of what you're seeing.
I just couldn't watch this.
But like that's where the fun is, I think, for people who enjoy these, and that's cool. Like you know what? I support you. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
See what's. See,
I think you gotta have, and I'm okay with like those movies as well. I think I have to be in a mindset for them, and that mindset's very, very rare.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, listen, is Art the Clown becoming an icon? I mean, he is everywhere. I know
he is, but I think he could be so much more.
Well, that's the thing is like I know he's not commercialized, but little by little,
he's
seems
commercialized
to be getting
as fuck
more
right now. Apparently, he's like all in all the Halloween stores this year.
Yeah, well, exactly. So we talk about punk rock and not selling out, but they're licensing.
Hey, he's gonna make a little. He's gonna make a little money, man.
They're licensing the F out of him. So
he's not an icon. He's a fad at this point. And you know what? I'm gonna say this, but because it's out of love, horror is not in right now. They haven't found a rhythm right now with like characters. And I think the problem is because they've been doing way too many remakes and way too many like reboots and stuff like that we haven't had a unique story. And what we watched just recently in A Violent Nature is like the most like new like horror villain, really.
Yeah, but I don't know. I would argue that we're kind of in like a horror renaissance.
I was
Name
gonna say,
5 characters we got out of horror movies.
so you're talking about different ideas, and this is what this is really what I want to know, because are people kind of looking for a horror icon?
We're looking for a franchise.
Yeah, it's
more so than these art pieces that are like A24 showcases of like great storytelling.
If you want a
budgets.
franchise, you're gonna get it with this, but if you want an icon, you're not gonna get it. I don't think. Like, this is just, I think the reason why it's so popular is because it's been like,
you just can't make a Midsommar 2. You can't make a Hereditary 2. Like,
yeah, A24
you're saying that people are thirsty for a simple franchise.
Yeah, I mean, to Dan's point, though, like he's saying, like, these are very intelligent, heady films that the A24 does, and they're very original stories.
They're not looking, though, for
watch,
icons.
You know, somebody's head get fucking chopped off and laugh.
Exactly. And that's why they made a violent nature, though. Because think about this, because this is where I'd like to compare and contrast the movies, because I think Johnny has, my boy Johnny could be an icon too.
You love Johnny.
I love Johnny. And here's the thing, because Johnny is an undead zombie who comes back to life, and all of the same practical effects and everything like that, but he doesn't make anybody's, take anybody's kid. There's no like school shooting kind of stuff going on. There's none of that exists in that movie, but there's also brutally violent shit about people getting like threaded through themselves and like things like that, but it doesn't hit in any way, shape, or form. And they're also making a second of Violent Nature. So, I mean, my champion is returning to the field of battle here. But
I think, though, what we got to look into, like, icon is a very specific, like, platform. You know, you don't get to that upper echelon unless you're, like, truly known. People like Michael Myers. Michael Myers came out like in the 80s. Like, that's like, you're never gonna get to that because that's like the oldest icon besides like Freddy Krueger, Jason. You got to build it up. Leatherface too. Like, there's so many villains that, like, you know, you could talk about that, or the icons, because they've been around for so long and they've been making movies, and they also are still in the conversation. These new icons that are out, well, yes, they can very well be, but like, the thing is, these movies could easily run its course within a couple of years.
You're right. And I agree. I don't know if art is necessarily there yet, but I do think that especially the newer audience is looking for a horror icon that's relevant to them and their age. Not Michael Myers, not Jason, not Freddy, because those are all older icons. Those are all had their time.
We have 30+ years of experience with those people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, it's old hat at this point.
I think, though, the thing is, they're still making shit with them, is the thing. Like, I think what's really specific about horror right now is that they're still running the midnight oil, like, with these shows and different, like, movies and reboots, that it's hard for, like, an indie movie, like, In a Violent Nature or Terrifier to really compete with that, because they don't have, like, this kind of thing right now. Like, right now, like, we're just talking, like, right now, maybe, like, 20 years from now, like, maybe they'll be heard of, but, like, I don't know, on the, like, icon list.
I think art is iconic. For all the things against this, I do think there is something, whether it's just the simplicity of a good slasher movie or watching somebody's head get caved in or something like that. He's kind of very vaudeville. He's very avant-garde, but at the same time, he's, it's easy to dress up as Art the Clown. There's no redeeming qualities to him, whatever. He is villainy personified.
But it's still crazy to me that you have they just announced they're doing another Terrifier movie after the third one. It hasn't even been a full 10 years yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's still crazy to me. That's the biggest thing I've seen.
Did you hear my profit margin numbers?
Well, yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like,
he's probably turned down so much money that he's probably swimming. I mean, you take a look at that, and like, he's probably swimming in.
Well, I'm not saying it as a negative. I'm saying it as, like, that's impressive. Because, like, the horror movies that we've seen before, they've taken, like, multiple years before they do another one. This is, like, in between like a couple of years. Like when
We
was the
don't have the attention span we used to. I feel like you got to print that money while it's hot.
Yeah, I
Like-
know. It wasn't like back then. Like, but I think
There'd
back
be
then they
like
had a lot
3
more.
or 4 movies a year.
They had a lot
you
more
know?
disputes. This guy's like really tied to Terrifier. The other people are not tied.
He's basically going to be like the Daniel Plainview of horror.
Yeah.
Made him an offer. Turned it down flat.
You know what I was thinking with these? For me, they're kind of like Rob Zombie movies because a lot of Rob Zombie movies I don't like either. Like, and it feels like a different taste than what I like. And I do have a question for you guys on this because Rob Zombie, one of the things I said about him is I do appreciate, like, I think he does great effects. I think he has these great characters and he knows terror and horror, right?
Yeah.
But his stories and everything just aren't good. And the way he writes characters, it's just not good. And
Well-
I see some of that in these Terrifier movies.
musician.
But here's what I want to know. Like, wonder if they brought writers onto Rob Zombie movies and Damien Leone brings in like writers for these and they make them a little bit more substantial.
I think it's hard now because you've already committed to this kind of characterization. Like, yeah, you can bring in writers, but like, I feel like it would be way too late in the game to like bring it in because then it would be like a totally new movie.
Well, that and this is like a genre in itself. So
Yeah.
it's like you introduce writers into it, well, then you're kind of going with a different genre format as well. And like they're very much seem like they're invested in keeping themselves like in specifically this kind of like gore horror genre.
You gotta respect them.
B-movie, Tromaville style.
Yeah, you gotta
movies.
respect them for that because they don't back down from like what they were. They kind of stay true to what they wanted in the original. Like,
And I will say, I don't know, like with Rob Zombie movies, like I will agree, House of a Thousand Corpses is not the most well written, but Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, I like Devil's Rejects. That's one of my favorites.
I like the story of Devil's Rejects a great deal, especially the sheriff character and like going after the family and like and like. You see, those movies, yes, those movies were very edgy for their time, too, especially with some of the things that they did in those movies. But to me, those movies still did not cross the lines that that this movie does.
And what's it seems weird and scary to me.
You know, and I think what Dan kind of brought up earlier is the best point of these. They know what they have with these movies. These movies are, I guess, are not really going on the substance. They're really sitting down with a group of friends and seeing what fucked up shit art is going to do.
They're
That's
just having fun with making these movies.
Oh, and then he makes the mom's head a Halloween candy bowl. Yeah, rah, rah.
That's it. That's it.
You know, like how we sit and we conjure up skits all the time.
That's it. You know what? You're
we
right.
don't conjure them up. We were born with them.
We're born right this. You should bring us on. We can
that felt like a Ben
rework
Diesel
this.
line.
Oh my
We were
God. Get
born
us on the
with this.
Terrifier movies.
Daniel Leone, I'll turn that 15 into 150 million.
That is a big like bet on yourself, dude. Going from 15 million to 100. What'd you say?
150 million.
Yeah, nah.
Hey, listen, I don't think he needs
I'll
our
pay
help.
you. I'll
He's
pay
doing
you
pretty good.
150 million if you can make that.
I really
movie,
don't
man.
want to help him.
I'm not helping him. I'm betting against him.
You know what? I think it will be interesting to see Terrifier 3 and what happens, like where it goes from here. Because is this gonna just keep the train going?
They already said that there's going to be a fourth one.
Yeah, there's already a fourth one.
But I mean, as far as like momentum and like gaining,
I think it is. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, look at his data. He's already there's an
Bearclaw.
upward. There's an upward trajectory going with.
trajectory.
we need the graphs.
Profitability 87% to 98%. I mean,
Like it's moving.
It's moving.
It's trending up.
It's trending upward. The market. I mean, the market has spoken. I mean, hey, I would never say anything about censorship. I would never say that he didn't have the right to make these movies or that these movies should be censored. I don't think of that at all. What has surprised me about these movies is the market's reaction and the love that people have for these movies, just because it's very difficult for me to connect with. That doesn't mean that whoever loves these movies, tell me about it at the padded room at outlook.com. Like, I want to know more. I'm curious how people are interpreting this differently, because I feel when I watched these, I just didn't see that. You know?
Yeah, and that makes sense. And like I started this review off, that's what's great about horror is it has something for everybody.
Yeah.
Horror is subjective, just like art.
Yeah, right. This is art. Ha 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 ha.
Thank you for helping me out there.
And like there are things that I love about Art the Clown, like the whole like drawing shit on the wall. Like that's
I don't
such,
like
an
that.
asshole thing to do, and that's what Art the Clown would do.
I don't like that because he killed a guy that just wanted to raise.
Yo, Steve, this is sick. I better get overtime for this. No joke, this is disgusting.
And that guy, you know what? And you said this too. That dude spent his final hours
cleaning shit off
the wall. Like, what a crappy life.
I believe the correct terminology is a Picasso.
Screw you.
Dude, we can't talk anymore on that. We got to go to hook, line,
so
and
disgusting.
stinker after that. Holy shit. That gotta end it.
Literally.
No, it looked like big chunks. It wasn't.
We gotta end the discussion. That was too perfect. All right, it's time for hook, line, and stinker.
Yeah, man.
Well, our hook is our favorite kill from the movie. Our line is our favorite line or quote from the movie. And our stinker is something funny, weird, or awful that happens during the movie that makes it either better or worse. For me, my hook is I kind of like not necessarily the kills themselves because the jack-o'-lantern kill we don't see in the restaurant, the pizza restaurant owner in Terrifier, where
where it lights up.
Yeah.
It almost is like an homage to The Burning.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Good call.
Yeah, I liked that. I liked that effect. I thought it was cool and something original. And I also enjoyed kind of a similar scene in the costume shop in Terrifier 2, where he kills the costume shop owner, and then he's standing in the window with his decapitated head, and they're like, "Oh, it's a nice display."
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, look at that, Mom. Yeah, that's wonderful, honey. Cool.
Oh,
And then he hawks the head after they walk away.
My line, I actually enjoy the Clown Cafe song. I think that was like such a cool song. And I really enjoyed all the Clown Cafe stuff. I like that. More surrealism, because I think it hits heavy on a lot of the realistic maybe aspects. I know it goes over the top, but get more surreal with it. Have fun. Let's go in the sandbox a little bit. My stinker, and this is actually something I love too, is in the costume store shop where Art is behind Sienna and he's putting on the glasses. He's got the horn, the party horn, and then he's got the real horn and he's getting closer and closer to her. I just thought, man, this dude, this is perfect.
He's very menacing.
Yeah.
And those are the parts that Art shines at, is being menacing.
Wait, that was your stinker?
That was my stinker because I think it's just funny and awkward, how he's in the background.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my stinker.
Okay.
Yeah, because it is awkward. Can you imagine being her and what the hell's this dude doing?
I don't know, man. If a clown showed up, I would legitimately punch and run.
Yeah, especially Art, right?
I hate clowns.
All right, Dan, how about you?
My hook is the Clown Cafe host. I like how she's completely unshaken by everything that's happened to her Clown Cafe. Still plucking away at the banjo. Art sets her on fire. She's still no-selling, swaying, grooving to her jingle. And Art kind of just joins in. And he's dancing along with her. And then she kind of just dies.
Flamethrowers are right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sold like Hogan.
My line is...
I was not using chemicals, and I did not leave burning candles on my dresser. Why can't you just believe me?
Why can't you just trust me, Mom? Because I feel like this small, completely unimportant throwaway line summarizes this movie in general. Pose any questions or critiques of the creative directions they took. The answer is because fuck you, that's why.
Yeah.
My stinker, every great iconic horror villain has a motive for what they are doing. Freddy, it's revenge on the kids of the people who burned him alive. Jason, he was bullied. He drowned due to negligence. They killed his mom. Chucky used voodoo to cheat death. Ghostface, revenge. What is Art's motive? We don't know. The answer is because fuck you, that's why. It's just, to me, it's kind of just senseless, gratuitous violence and has no like context or meaning behind it. Like, people can enjoy that if they do. It's just, for me, it's not it.
Doesn't work for me, brother.
Doesn't work for me, brother. Bearclaw.
So my hook is when Art's head is chopped off at the end of the second movie, because it means the movie is over. That was my favorite kill because it meant that I didn't have to, and that was after a long, that movie was long. My line is from the costume shop owner.
Sir, if you're gonna put that in your mouth, you gotta pay for it.
Which in my mind summarizes like, there's like a psychological, like, after watching the first one and the second one, there's like a psychological toll for me personally to watching these movies. Like, I was bummed out. Like, and I get the whole punk rock thing, fine, whatever. But I mean, and that's if that's how you want to express your art. Like I said, no censorship, but I wouldn't have touched this movie with a 20-foot pole if it wasn't for this podcast, and my instincts were correct. So, you know, this wasn't for me, and that's it. My stinker was just the misogynism of this movie. All of the spectacular violence happens against women, attacks on women's faces, acid being thrown on women, just like sometimes it is unfortunately done in real life, usually in domestic violence incidences in foreign countries, sometimes in America too. And I mean, I think you could probably throw this at a few different slasher movies, but I mean, it is very clear that the spectacular violence only happens to women in these movies. Like, one guy gets his dick cut off, like, and that was a tough scene to watch too, but like,
just the tip,
but like, that was honestly more in line with what I would think of as like a fun horror thing. And the keeping people alive, you know, again, that's just, it's torture, it's suffering, and it's not for me. And you know, that's what I'd say about that.
Ain't for me, brother.
It ain't for me, brother.
All right, Logan.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty rough. For me, my hook is Saw scene. I mean, it's pretty brutal, man. It's legitimately like scarring, but it's also like a really unique and pretty brutal kill. Line.
What, did you think he was gonna hack me up into little pieces or something?
Simple.
And then he does.
Yeah. It was ironic. For stinker, I had too brutal, and everyone really talks like, is it weird that you kind of notice like everyone doesn't really sound like normal? Everyone's kind of like way too violent, and they kind of like all have some kind of like issue with like people. Like, they just don't like anybody. Everyone's just a giant asshole in these movies. Like, there's literally a scene where I brought it up, the mom. Like, what the hell was the mom?
That dynamic was a little weird.
I feel like the most wholesome character was the bald dude in the first one.
The pest control guy, yeah.
Pest control?
What kind of pest?
You sure you want me to tell you before you use the bathroom?
Why? Don't tell me it's roaches.
It's not roaches.
Oh, good.
It's rats.
Who was listening to punk rock, just trying to kill some rats, you know?
Yeah.
They were gonna make it a Starbucks. He just wanted to spruce the place up.
But like, I don't know. Like, I think also like the spiking the drink was also pretty, like, I hated that because I was like, why'd you have to do that? Along with
trying
like
to be a good
the
friend.
panic attacks too. I was just like, dude, you don't need to have this in a movie. You're good. You already got me. Like, the panic attacks didn't really add to like the plot at all. It was realistic, but it was bad choice.
Any honorable mentions at all?
Chris Jericho being in the movie.
Yeah,
just in
Chris
general.
Jericho was fun.
Yeah.
True.
Well, we're on to our final rating.
They're gonna rate the movie. What will they rate the movie? The killer is great, the victim sucks, the survivor is in between.
What was that?
Now, our final rating system is Killer. It's our highest rating. It was awesome. We would highly recommend it, and it is a must-watch. Survivor is our middle tier. It was a good movie. We would probably recommend, and some rewatchability. Victim is our lowest rating. It's a bad movie. We do not recommend, and no rewatchability. Now, for me, Terrifier, number one, is a victim. I don't know. Overall, it's just not for me. I thought it was a good 30 minutes to open, and then the last almost hour was just, I don't know, a lot of just brutality and torture, and I don't know, it was not fun. And you know what, I gotta say, other than the saw scene, it really wasn't memorable at all either, like a lot of the first. I don't know. Terrifier 2, I gotta say, I'm actually kind of stuck a little bit on Terrifier 2 because I do have it written as a victim, but there's a lot of things I really like about Terrifier 2. You know, the bedroom scene is not for me.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. So that's why I'm going to stick with victim. But I think that's, and I wouldn't rewatch it or want to rewatch it. So, I mean, that's why I'm going to stick with victim. But I think there are a lot of good things in Terrifier 2. I really do. I like the supernatural element, the clown cafe. I love
synth music was pretty.
The music, yeah, yep. And I love kind of, they went with that supernatural cosmic thing with Sienna too, and making this protagonist. That's some of the cool stuff. The costume store, awesome. Like, I want to see more of that. It was very long too, which didn't help.
Didn't help its case.
Yeah. And Damien Leone, you know, credit to him, has heard people say that about Terrifier 2. So he said Terrifier 3 is much shorter. So good on him for, trying to make his audience happy. All right, Dan, how about you?
Terrifier 1, I give it a victim. I don't like this movie at all. I get it, with a small budget and limited resources, it's very difficult to completely flesh out your ideas for a story, or how much those budgetary constraints can impact the quality of storytelling and dialogue. And I think Leone decided that his visual presentation needed to be front and center to stand out in a sea of just like no-name folks trying to make a name for themselves, or like they're trying to reach that next level as a director, movie maker. It's a bold, intense movie, and I appreciate and respect the choices they made as a DIY project. Terrifier 2, I was having a hard time rating this one. I am going to give it a victim as well. I think Leone listened to some valid criticisms from the first Terrifier. There's a lot more story, better developed foil to Art the Clown and Sienna. We get some backstory on Art without really sacrificing any of the intense, gory visuals of the first one. It makes 2 slightly more watchable. I need more than being subjected to grotesque violence for 90 minutes. And this gives me a little more, but not enough for me to say this would be something I would enjoy watching and would watch on my own time outside of this podcast, or really recommend it to anybody.
Bearclaw, how about you? You got killers on both of these, huh?
Yeah, both of them killer. I think you should definitely watch them, with your family. Everybody
Especially
should get together.
Christmas.
Like at Christmas time, I think Thanksgiving is good times to be watching these with loved ones, just so you can all come together. No, I mean, my summary of those movies is like cool torture porn, bro. Like, there's lots of art out there that's unique. There's lots of art out there that's different from everything that everybody else is doing. Doesn't mean it's better or that it's achieving anything great. I mean, this is very marketable. The market has spoken, and you're listening to one old bear that, this wasn't for. So, cool torture porn, bro. And like, I hope the people that enjoy it continue to enjoy it, and don't let me spoil your fun. Tell me about why you enjoy it. I am genuinely curious. Like, this is me asking our audience, what did you see in these movies? What fun did you have that I am missing? Because maybe that can help. I always try and think about that. But yeah, mine are very clearly, these are both victims for me, because the sooner I can forget about these movies, the happier I will be.
All right, Logan, finish us up.
Terrifier 1 is a victim. No rewatchability for me. I don't want to recommend this to anyone, because if I did, I think legitimately they would hate me. Like, I already get enough shit as it is for like recommending people movies that they don't like necessarily vibe with that I'm into. I did
all the Fast and Furious movies.
Well, no, I got a good
Just
recommendation. It was more just I recommended somebody The Lighthouse and they didn't like it. And they repeatedly told me that it was the worst movie they saw, and I was like, dude, you gotta shut the hell up because you're stupid. And I was like, I got into like a whole fight about it, and now I'm like, I'm never recommending you another movie because you don't understand good art. Yeah, Terrifier 1, I just didn't vibe with. It wasn't fun. I felt myself, like, hurtling towards the finish line to try to finish this, and I felt like I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't really like anything that had anything to do with this movie. Protagonist didn't get me involved at all, and even the antagonist art I just didn't care for. So it's a victim for the first one. For the second one, I liked what they did with a different approach. They brought in new characters. Obviously, the Pale Girl was a very good character choice. I liked the little lip syncing, as well as like more of just like this insanity behind Art the Clown. I liked more character development for that. I like that they actually brought in a protagonist and try to get them some screen time, as well as building up more of a build up to like the next couple movies. But then it falls apart because I'm like, I just don't care. It's too much. It's too much to sit through. It's too brutal. I just can't do it. So like for that, it's a victim for both.
All right, Nathan, our producer, also wanted to give his ratings on these movies. For Terrifier, he said, I believe that shock for the sake of shock has artistic merit. I understand it, I respect it, and I own 2 copies of Pink Flamingos to prove that. That being said, the particular type of shock this movie engages in is not to my taste, and outside that shock, it has little to offer. It has no story, poor acting, and bad writing. It's not suspenseful, and other than a few great moments of mime work by Art the Clown, it's not funny. When it's not being gross, it's just being boring. Victim. For Terrifier 2, almost everything about Terrifier 2 is done better than Terrifier 1. The story isn't good, but at least it has a story. The characters are shallow, but at least they can all be classified as characters at all. And there's more excellent and funny mime work by the legitimately talented David Howard Thornton. But the pacing, my God, the pacing. On multiple occasions, I paused to see how much time was left in the movie and exclaimed out loud, fucking why?
I can hear Nathan saying
Nathan,
that.
you got to put yourself in there.
And Nathan, I swear to you, I heard your voice and I was asking myself the same questions.
They really needed 2.5 long, boring hours to tell a story that ends with a magic sword pulling a Deus Ex Machina to get our heroine out of trouble. Nah, victim. And I can't even read.
And that's the other thing too. Like the you know, when I talk about the misogyny of these movies, like even the final girl couldn't do it on her own. She needed the magic sword. You know, like just frustrating.
We asked you, our audience, what your thoughts are on Terrifier and Terrifier 2. So let's check out our Instagram at mouths.of.madness. From Donkey House Inc. Absolutely love them and didn't think I would.
I like that name.
I feel like to some people, this is like when I saw like a good Wes Anderson movie and they were just like, this is everything I've been looking for.
Nocturnal Savannah. More people seem to prefer the first one, but I love the second one. I do think the first one is necessary and it really sets the stage for art. However, I enjoyed the second one more because I felt it had more of a plot in addition to the extreme gore. It gave me major 80s vibes, which I also loved. Art has definitely become a horror icon, whether you like the Terrifier movies or not. Although gore doesn't bother me at all, I usually prefer horror movies with a compelling story. Terrifier 2 satisfies that for me. I'm a big fan of art and can't wait for Terrifier 3. Bring me the Axe Pod. I'm really conflicted over these movies. I think art is a really great franchise killer and David Thornton is 100% the reason why he's so great. He's so great that he makes the first one proper a watchable movie. Otherwise, I think the first one is pretty mediocre. Terrifier 2, however, is pretty damn good. My only beef with them is how fucking mean they are. Both movies hinge on sadistic set pieces that are so cruel that I find them really off-putting. The gleefully ghoulish tone just turns nasty in a way that I find really unpleasant. K. Lampy 5678. I enjoy both, but I think 2 maybe tops the list for me. David Howard Thornton is genius. I love how he can make art so funny one moment and so sinister the next. The effects are great in both, but I also love the music in 2 and how it didn't answer all my questions about what the hell is going on. Twisted Savage Alpha. Some hearts, a knife, some hearts, a knife, some hearts, a knife emoji. Thank you, Twisted. We appreciate you. White Mountain OD. I enjoy them both, but Terrifier 2 is the better movie in my opinion. Love or hate them, I appreciate the practical effects to those movies and how terrifying Art the Clown is as a villain. Also, quick context to my comment. My reason for liking Terrifier 2 more than one is I think it has a better narrative and story. Can't go wrong with either of them if you want to see some practical gore. Dark_Abyss 89. They are both works of art. I see what you did there.
I see what you did in the dark.
Queen_of_horror reads. Terrifier is better than Terrifier 2. Art is scarier in the first because there's an ominous enigma feature about him where we can't quite wrap our head around why he's doing what he's doing and why he's so unwell. In Terrifier 2, while the kills are gorier than ever, he's generally a bit sillier, which takes away from the original terrifying personality qualities we saw in the first film. Although I am interested in Art's background, when background information is provided and viewers start to understand the villains/horror icons more, it weakens their scary attributes. The Terrifier franchise is, without a doubt, known for its shock value and gore and unpredictability. By providing origin stories and connections to a new final girl, the franchise is diverting from the unpredictability. Dissect that film. The first one is a showcase of spectacular practical effects, along with the introduction of a new icon of the genre. Thornton brings Art to life without a single word of dialogue. 2 turns it up to 11 with the return of Art, a plot that fits well into the mythos, and a final girl that is as iconic as the villain. I consider them what the fuck horror movies. Ooh, that's a that's a good genre.
That works.
Friend of the podcast, Modern Monstrous. One is a comfort movie for me. I know what I'm getting, and what I'm getting is good. The gore effects in both are absolutely beautiful, and I want to see more in the third one. The second one was way too long with a convoluted storyline. I think he just tried to do too much and the story suffered. And I still can't get over a father designing that outfit for their daughter.
Yeah,
that is true.
Say what you will, but cosplay was a huge element of these movies, for the second movie.
Oh, man. I don't know of a single father outside of an incestuous one who would do that.
Well, he didn't last very long.
Hannah Blackmon. I like both, but the second one is definitely my favorite of the two. I absolutely love Sienna and the new characters. The first one just feels like a total separate movie. And I definitely believe Art has made himself a home alongside some of the horror greats we all know and love. Elliot_Void, both great. Part 2 has a pretty long runtime for a horror film though. Hellraisers Pod, I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, but I prefer the first movie. Also, we found a lot of similarities between Art and Ed Gein. CW DATB Podcast. Killer! Man, we love your comments. It's so cool to get so many comments.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we really appreciate your feedback. Please
shoot me an email.
Yeah, shoot Bearclaw an email. Let them know why you loved it. It seems like, you know, everyone in our comments really loves these movies. And we hope we didn't make you all upset and want to come and bring Art to us. But you know what? Like I said, everyone has a different opinion on these movies. And just for us, they're not for us. That does it for our episode on Terrifier versus Terrifier 2. But we'll be back soon with another episode for Madtober. And we're going to be reviewing Scream. But until then, back to the padded room with you. Oh, wait.
All right, guys. Yeah, good episode. Let's go out in the parking lot here and
wait a minute.
What the fuck is he still doing here?
That clown.
You hear that horn? I thought it was just
That's
me.
That's it. You know what? That's it.
I've had enough of your clowning around.
Guys, I will be right back.
Oh my god, hang on. Let's Logan, grab the bleach.
Yeah. Where's the salt?
Oh my god.
Guys, I got the salt, I got the bleach, I got some acid.
You know what we gotta do? We gotta fire this up.
Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up!
Literally, light the match.